Hi, welcome back aboard the Earthmote. I'm Randall. Today I want to share some of the different published products that I see as great toolkits for helping you build out your own sandbox. When it comes to making a hex map or designing dungeons, there's lots of details and elements that go into designing those different locations and components of your games. And some people have boundless creativity, and that's great for them. But for some of us, we hit writer's block, and it helps to have some toolkits that we can rely on to help spark some different ideas when we're filling in hex number 53 or dungeon room number 41. So I'm going to go through 5 toolkits that I own and use. Obviously, there are tons of great products out there that are designed to help game masters. If I've left one of your favorites off the list, that isn't a slight towards it. I probably just haven't used it or familiarized myself with it yet. But do leave me a comment down below letting me know if I missed any good ones and I can take a look at them. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the list. Worlds Without Number by Kevin Crawford is by far one of my favorite RPG books. If you've watched this channel before, that's not a secret. The game itself in the book is quite fun, but what makes the product so incredible is the wealth of game master tools that Kevin provides within the book. First, you've got the random tables. There's tables for developing nations, towns and cities, governments, societies, religions, histories, factions, or courts, as Kevin calls them in the book. All the things that you need to build a backdrop for your campaign world. Then you've got the tables for your adventuring locations, your ruins and your wilderness points of interest. There's tables to make hex points of interest. There are tables to build dungeons and stock dungeons with different interesting contents for play. Beyond the basic tables that give you those central ideas, there are what I call the tag table. The purpose of the tag tables is to roll up a couple of them on the table and give you some themes for either your locations or factions that you're building out. And then you take those couple of tags and blend them together. For a ruin, you might roll up the tags Automaton Servant and Shifting Interior, and that's going to provide a pretty clear picture on what might be happening within that dungeon and what it's about. Lastly, beyond the tables, Kevin's campaign advice and running the game advice is awesome. He gives very practical and actual information on how you can run sandbox games. I definitely recommend checking out this work, largely because the PDF copy of the book is free. There is a deluxe version of the book that does cost some money and includes some additional content, but all of the GM tools that I described in this video are available in the free version. For print options, you can get a print-on-demand book from DriveThruRPG, or you can buy the offset print version of the book from Kevin's website. The offset book is a little bit more expensive, around $80 at the time of making this video, but I own it and I love it. It's high quality binding. The paper feels nicer than print on demand products I've gotten from DriveThruRPG. Lastly, if you are a sci-fi fan, a cyberpunk fan, or apocalyptic fan, Kevin Crawford has versions of the game system for those genres. Stars Without Numbers, Cities Without Numbers, and the newly kickstarted Ashes Without Numbers, respectively. All of which include similar style tables for those genres. So you could pick up those products and mix and match between the different books to get different ideas. A lot of great tools and flexibility all within there. There are free versions of those available in PDF as well. So check out Kevin Crawford's works. He makes high quality products that have really great tools for game masters. Next, we have a set of booklets, the D30 Sandbox Companion and the D30 Dungeon Masters Companion. These books are quite slim, but they're chock full of great tables to help you make points of interest for your hex map and details for your dungeons that reside within your greater world. They also contain a lot of great information about NPCs and treasures and the finer details that help you flesh out your sandbox. I've mostly used these in preparation for running my games, but I know a lot of people that use them at the tables to procedurally generate content while they're running the game with their party there. So it's a versatile product that you can get a lot out of, both in prep and actually running at the table. As the name suggests, all of the tables are D30 based. The D30 is a bit of an odd dice. I think it's most popularly used in the Dungeon Crawl Classics game. But the good thing is you don't even need a D30 to use the books. You can roll a combination of a D6 and a D10 to get your results, or use an online dice roller set to a D30. I did that for quite some time before I actually picked up a physical D30. I actually have a deeper review of these books on the channel. I'll put the video up here if you want to check that out and see a more detailed flip through of what's contained within. You can get the PDF copies on DriveThruRPG, and you can get the print copies of the book from lulu.com. Next up, we got the Tome of Adventure Design. This is a thick book. The book itself is broken into 4 chapters. First, we have the principles and starting points. It starts off by giving a lot of practical advice and really interesting advice on how to build strong adventures before diving into tons of random tables. The tables in the first chapter are all about locations of the adventure, the types of missions that the adventure might be about, and the villain's plans on what they're trying to achieve within your adventure. The second chapter is all about monsters. This chapter helps you create your own unique monsters. The monster tables are largely delineated by creature types. So you have a humanoid chapter, a draconic chapter, a fey chapter, giants. You get the idea. The tables for each type help you create fun and fresh ideas on these monsters that still kind of follow their classical archetypes. Lastly, there are general monster tables that apply to all types or help you devise your own new creations. So you can build your own fresh monsters if that's something you'd like to do. Chapter 3 is all about dungeon design, and it is by far the largest chapter in the book. This is the chapter I use the most in the book, and I'm really happy to pull it out when I'm working on a dungeon because it has tons of details and ideas that help me really flesh out those different dungeon areas. There's some general tables to help you build out the design of the dungeon if you don't already have one in mind or a map already pre-made. Then there are tons of tables to help you fill out the contents of the dungeon. Some of the tables are really broad, like tricks and traps, but they include tons of sub tables that really drill down into the deeper granularity. So magic traps, mechanical traps, things like that. While there are other tables that are very detailed from the get-go, like statues or details about thrones. Chapter 4 is all about non-dungeon adventure design. This provides some tables to help kind of flesh out places that the players might adventure outside of the dungeon. So underwater adventures, planar adventures, things like that. I found these sections to be very specific and they contain a lot fewer tables than the other subchapters in the book, but they are nice to have nonetheless in case you are looking to design an underwater component or a tundra component, something like that. The Tome of Adventure Design is a big book. Sometimes it can feel a touch overwhelming with how much information it has, but if you like that level of detail and want some assistance in coming up with fun ideas for your players, the Tome of Adventure Design is your book. You can get the PDF copy on DriveThruRPG, and you can pick up a physical copy on Mythmere Games website. Where the Tome of Adventure Design is broad and deep, the dungeon alphabet is focused and flavorful. This fun book by Goodman Games presents some tables in alphabetical order about common or major dungeon elements. Some letters only have a single table, while others may have 2 or 3. The tables are pretty thematic, like D is for doors or O is for oozes, but I found some were a bit contrived to get all the letters of the alphabet in there. I'm looking at you, Z is for Zowie. What I like is that a lot of the tables are generally very flavorful and the entries have some really unique elements to them. For example, in the treasure chest table, the rare and unusual treasure chest, we see a vampiric chest. This chest has no visible lock, but is bloodstained and has curious funnel-shaped holes on its lid. To open a vampiric chest, blood from either the opener or a sacrifice must be spilled over it. Funnels absorb the vital fluid, unlocking the chest. It's very unique and flavorful, and it gives you some immediate ideas about these different elements that you can put in your dungeon that are just really actionable and can drive a lot of kind of fun exploration and interaction with your party. I like to turn to this toolkit when I have a very specific need within my dungeon design, like building an altar or flavorful door, something like that. I've done a deeper review on this book. You can check that out up here if you want to see more details about the contents of the book. You can get the PDF on DriveThruRPG, and you can get the print book from Goodman Games. Lastly, we have a set of books from Raging Swan Press. This is the Game Master's Miscellany, Dungeon Dressing, and Wilderness Dressing books. And these books are full of a lot of great tables for building out your sandbox. For the Dungeon Dressing book, I like it because it's similar to the Dungeon Alphabet. It gives some nice ideas and takes on very specific elements within the dungeon. Things like corpses, secret doors, legends, and so on. These tables are generally larger than what you'll find in the Dungeon Alphabet, so most are D100 tables. There's some D20 tables as well. Tables are often broken down into the appearance of the element. So what does the portcullis look like? And then the dressing of the portcullis, which adds some minor element of flavor, like the acrid odor of troll stench billows through the portcullis bars. I've found that they just offer a nice spark of some detail or idea that I can further flesh out as needed. For the Wilderness Dressing book, it's broken down by terrain type. So you have Badlands, mountains, plains, and so on. And then within each section, there are subtables. So there's the minor events tables, the dressing tables, days travel tables, campsites, and random encounters. For this book, I mostly use the dressing tables. These can help give some ideas to key up hexes. When you're keying up a bunch of hexes of the same terrain type, it's just nice to have some ideas on what might be there. For example, say I'm working on keying a mountain range, I can flip to the mountain section and roll on the dressing table to get a sturdy dwarven bridge that spans 30 foot wide, 80 foot deep chasm. Cool. Maybe I want to key up the bridge as a point of interest within that hex. Now, I will say that some of these dressing tables are hit or miss. Some focus much more on the appearance details rather than something that would be a possible point of interest for the players. I've found that the other tables are a little bit less useful for me. The minor events tables and the uneventful day tables can give the game master some insights on concise, clean narration if you need help with that. And the campsite table can add into that as well. But again, these aren't really helping me build out my sandbox, so I just found a little bit less use in them. The random encounter tables can be interesting to borrow from, either for details in a location-based adventure, or if you want to use them for certain sections or regions of your sandbox. They'll serve perfectly fine for that. And often they have a lot of nice context built into them. So that's great. But they're definitely kind of a one-time use table. Like, how often do you want to run into the same dwarf pair? I'm not sure. I mean, maybe you want to use it multiple times, but for me, that would just be not as interesting as having a little bit more generalized tables, but able to be a little bit more functional and sustaining for a longer period of time. You can get the PDF and print on demand books from DriveThruRPG. These are also the system neutral options, but they do have versions of the books that are edition based. So I think there's a 3rd edition or 3.5 edition and a 5th edition book as well. So that's it. Those are the toolkits that I've been using lately to help me build out my Sandbox games. Let me know if you use any of those books and enjoy them, or if you think I missed any books that are great resources. Leave a comment below and we'll check those out. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Check out my monthly newsletter, Enchanted Nimbus. Thanks for hopping aboard the Earthmote. I'll see you in the next one.